Hello, everybody. I hope you are doing well this beautiful Thursday. It's actually not super beautiful here. Well, okay, it's beautiful. It's just hot and I'm a wuss. Anyway, as you could probably tell by the title, today we are talking about planning in the context of social media perfectionism because, don't we all love social media perfectionism? I will say right up front that I'm going to rely heavily on those of you who are here live because I want this to be a conversation. I am not an expert in this topic. While I did do a little bit of research coming into this, I really do want this to be a conversation. So whether you're here live and can talk to me in mostly real time, or if you're watching the replay and are leaving comments, please let me know your thoughts on anything and everything that I talk about because this is a very, very important topic that I think needs to get discussed more. Social media and just the impact it has on us and our self-esteem and our views of ourself and reality and all of that good stuff just in general needs to get talked about more, but it's mostly talked about, hello Opie, in the context of body image and, adhering to perfectionism standards when it comes to you physically, but that also really impacts kind of everything that one puts out on social media. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If we have a little bit of time at the end, we do have a couple of new pictures of the new monthly life planners that are coming out next week. So we can go ahead and look at those if I still have energy and there's time and you guys want to. There isn't too much new coming out as part of that though, so it is what it is. Also, before I get into the whole conversation, I do have a little exciting announcement that I would like to make. I'm very excited to be able to share that I'm going to be getting a preview copy of the Erin Condren Academic Planner this year. Yay! I don't have it in my hands yet, so even if the embargo wasn't up, I couldn't talk about it yet. I think it's up on the 6th. I could be wrong, and half of my screens just went black because Opal is stepping on my cables. Please stop that, Opie. But I will be doing an unboxing of the life planner or the academic planner, and I'm assuming they're going to send me some accessories. I don't know exactly what's going to be in said box, and it might even be a special edition stream, just depending on when I get everything and just kind of how everything works out. So I did want to let you know because I'm really excited, and I also got a little bit of clarification from Erin Condren that I've effectively been taking the embargoes a little bit too seriously. I still will be erring on the side of not giving away information, but I haven't even been saying oh, there's this thing coming out, or this is the date the embargo is, or I wasn't even sure if I was able to share with you guys that I'm going to be getting a preview copy of the academic planner. So I just wanted to let you know about that. I am not personally in school. My sister is in grad school. I actually have asked her to come on at some point. It will not be next week, but some point to just kind of review and discuss the Erin Condren Academic Planner from her point of view, because she's actually been using it for the past couple of years. Her birthday falls kind of at the beginning of the school year, so for the past couple of years, she's asked me to get her an academic planner. I don't know if she's going to end up getting this one this year. I might steal it. We'll see. But I wanted to let you know, if that's something you're interested in as well, that there may be some sort of exciting, I don't know, either a pre-recorded or live thing with me and my sister. Opie, please stop. Let's get you a spring. Ooh, and I have 2 springs and 2 remnants of springs left. I've also just been notified by YouTube that apparently I am not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. So hopefully that clears up really soon. Please let me know in the chat if you're having any problems seeing or hearing me. Hopefully, if the video starts to break up, you can at least hear me perfectly fine, since this is not a particular stream where I'm necessarily showing visuals, and that is not super important. But please let me know in the chat, because I can't, I have a video preview of what's going on, but I don't have an audio preview because otherwise we get a really bad echo and it would be terrible. So let's go ahead. I was gonna say let's go ahead and get into the topic, but I know I like to give little shout outs to people that are here. 𝗀𝗲𝘁 is back. 𝗀𝗲𝘁. As you can tell, the kittens are not with me right now. Okay, second to last spring, 𝗀𝗲𝘁. It's mangled. Woo, okay. Anyway, as you can tell, the kittens aren't with me, but today they ate for the first time all by themselves. I didn't have to supplement any feeding, which means that after tonight and me like monitoring them, I probably won't have to get up in the middle of the night to feed them anymore because I'll just be able to leave food out for them. And oh man, am I excited to be able to get a full night's sleep and not have my alarm constantly going off telling me I have to feed the kittens. Even though lately it's been every 6 hours, like for some reason I always feel tired and want to go to sleep about an hour before they have to be fed, and it's really annoying. Okay, shout outs to people that are here live. Lynn, Sharon, Manito, Teresa, thank you so much for being here. And Sharon and Manito, thank you for telling me that you're not having any issues. If any issues do come up with the quality, please let me know. Also, if you hear a buzzing, it's my fan. I mentioned it's hot. I'm a wimp. I'm in Portland, Oregon. We start to complain once the temperature gets above 75-ish, and it's currently 78 outside, and I'm even more of a wimp than normal. Yes, I'm aware of this. Yes, I can laugh at myself. Moving on. So, let's actually talk about today's topic. Okay, perfectionism in planning on social media. And as I said, a lot of this has to do, it's an overarching issue that really goes through everything, but it's not necessarily talked about as much in planning as it is when people are talking about pictures or selfies, where people are using Facetune or other photoshopping things. And I definitely do that. I'm not going to pretend like I don't. Right now, I don't have any like skin filtering anything on, but I mean, I have good lighting. Like even that could be seen as, to some extent, a little bit of an unrealistic expectation because, I mean, I have a little bit of makeup on, but I don't look, even in all of my like calls that I go on, I often don't look this good because I don't bother with the makeup. I typically try a little bit more for the YouTube streams. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes you guys see me without makeup, but this is something that has taken me years and years and years. But it's being talked about. What isn't being talked about is the other things that are shown on social media and how you're seeing the highlight reels, not only of, you know, everybody's like cute pictures and morning smoothie bowls. I love smoothie bowls, don't get me wrong. I just never make cute ones. But it also can go into other things such as planning or even arts and crafts, you know, different things that you're doing. I've seen it in things like Animal Crossing. Oddly enough, if you play Animal Crossing, maybe you kind of know what I mean, but it really goes through everything. It impacts everything pretty much on social media because everybody does want to put their best foot forward. That is something that has happened probably since the dawn of time, but at least, you know, over the past quite a few decades. The difference, of course, is that as regular media increased with the invent of like magazines and TV and whatnot through the 20th century, 𝗀𝗲𝘁, stop chewing on my monitor. She's about an inch from going to jail. Because I'm either going to have to put her in jail or I'm going to have to put up my be right back and go search for springs, and putting her in jail is a lot easier. Hey, we have one more spring, girl. Well, actually, oh, we have 2 more springs. I'll save the actual spring. We'll do the spring remnant first. Anyway, but as we all know, with the advent of social media, obviously, all of these images that are highlight reels are not only a lot more accessible to consume, but they're a lot easier to put out. because technology is in a place where it is, where, you know, people can use that, where a phone can be almost as good, if not better in some cases, than a camera that you buy specifically for the purpose. And so that, of course, creates a really blurry line between what is staged and what is an authentic snapshot that is just like, you know, thrown out there real fast. And there are definitely some people on social media that will put out, you know, authentic, cute snapshots and stuff like that. But of course, they're always, even if they're not actually editing it, they're still going to choose the highlight reel. Even if they're not curating something, they're going to make it look as good as they can. And that's just the reality of it. But we just don't talk about that enough, in my opinion. So obviously, we're talking about this when it comes to planners and planning. This is what my current planner looks like for the week. I did spend Tuesday night and Wednesday sick, and Monday and Tuesday I was tired. So yes, there's not much in this particular planner at this particular moment, but there is a time when I would be super embarrassed to show you that. And if I missed a week of planning, there have been many weeks of planning that I've missed that I have not wanted to say. I've not wanted to share that. It's not something that I've necessarily flat out lied about, but I framed it in such a way that I'm kind of like working around it. And it's only more recently that I've kind of gotten to the point where I can be completely honest and upfront about it. And I think some of that comes down last spring. Some of that comes down to me being diagnosed with ADHD last year and finally feeling like I could admit some of these shortcomings because I had a reason to admit them. But here's the thing, just because I have a diagnosis that backs it up doesn't mean everybody else who doesn't have an ADHD or a depression or whatever diagnosis, like fill in the blank, has to be perfect. In fact, perfectionism as a whole has been permeating through our society so much. And I mentioned earlier that I did a little bit of research before doing this, not a ton, but a little bit. And I watched a couple of TED Talks where they were talking about all the negative impacts that perfectionism has as a whole, not only from a visual image standpoint, but also from an academic standpoint, how there is a lot of competition to get into colleges and to get good test scores and things like that, and about how people's worth is being assigned to them based on performance versus their inherent worth as a human being. And while performance is important, and I'm not going to say that some form of performance isn't good, I mean, it's not a bad thing to strive to be better, but that also does not mean you are not a worthwhile person with who you are right now. Whether you get good grades, whether you feel organized or other people think you're organized, or you have the cutest planner in the world, or you have the cutest Instagram pictures or 1 million followers, or, fill in the blank with this big thing here, because ultimately those things, while they can be viewed as accomplishments, they're not you. You as a person are so much more than that. So much more. And a lot of these things, some of them can be seen as a little bit more superfluous. Some of them obviously can be seen as more important. For instance, if you want to get into a particular profession, or you just want to, go to a good school because, this, that, and the other thing, there's nothing wrong with that, even if you don't have a specific goal that even if you don't want to have a specific career, you just want to go to a good school because you're smart, or you like learning, or like whatever the reason. There's no reason not to want to do well. There's no reason not to want to better yourself, but just because you are trying to improve yourself does not mean you are not a great person right now in and of you as a human being. And there is this whole hustle culture that, again, like the whole, influencer, Instagram, everything is perfection. You're seeing everybody's highlights reel thing. I know this is a complete tangent, but this cat is starting to get on my nerves. Okay, you're going to lose your walking around privileges for a minute. Okay, yes, that is, it's like, I'm going to hold you. That's your punishment. This hustle culture is also permeating through our society. So that also comes back to the planning thing too, because both somewhat artificially, but also practically, people want to be as productive as possible. And as I said, some of that is artificial just because you want to be the best version of yourself, either for yourself or to put yourself out there. And to some extent, anytime you're sharing it, I mean, as someone on the internet, I understand this is kind of hypocritical, but like part of the hustle culture and being like super productive, I feel like can often come back to, again, one of those flexes that people will show on social media. Like, oh, I can take this really pretty picture. Oh, I'm super productive and I can do all these things. You, of course, also do have the practical standpoint in that it's expensive to live this time in history. It's expensive. And so sometimes the hustle culture that comes in isn't just because there is that need to be successful, just, like so that you can feel worthwhile as a human being, but also because you need to make more money or you want to work a job where you don't hate your life. I have been there. And that, then you can end up pushing yourself harder or going online to get tips and tricks. And again, you see people's highlight reels and you're comparing their highlight reel to your reality. And you have an awesome highlight reel too. I can tell you that. And even, like that person over there's highlight reel, like it could be a little Photoshop, it could be a little faked. I'm sure you could do the same thing if you actually wanted to. And then the next person would be like, ooh, they've got their shit together. And it just kind of keeps going and going and going because we do keep wanting to put our best foot forward. And it's this whole vicious cycle. But when it comes down to planning specifically, planning is a tool. It's a tool that can be used for many different things, for many different purposes, and it can be used in many different ways. But it is ultimately a tool. It is also, for a lot of people, a form of creative expression. And that's awesome too. Sometimes it can be creative expression one week and not the next week, like it can be for me. Some people like to memory plan, in which case their planner turns into a little bit more of a scrapbook. Some people like to use sticker kits every week. That used to be me. Now I'm a little bit more of an occasional sticker kit planner. I still consider myself a sticker planner, just not using a sticker kit every week. But you still have those highlight reels on Instagram and Pinterest. Instagram is the one that I see a lot. And I know I've mentioned I really don't do a lot on Instagram. And the reason is that I've noticed that every time I spend time on Instagram, I start to get more insecure about myself and what I'm doing, whether I'm looking at pictures of these beautifully decorated planner spreads where everything is perfectly, curated and color coordinated and they have like a million things on their to-do list and it's all checked off. Or maybe they're, hanging out with friends like 3 times a week and they have a date and all this social stuff in their life. And I'm like, my social life is kind of, I won't say completely non-existent, but it's like kind of close to it. I'm very much like a homebody. I'm the person that like for the first couple months of Corona, like it took me a little while to start going stir crazy because I didn't have much of a social life beforehand, But I look at these people's planners, and not only do I see these beautiful planner spreads, I'm like, I want to do that. I'm an artistic person. I want to do that. I want my spread to be beautiful. But then I look at what they're actually doing, what they're actually accomplishing. And that makes me also feel inadequate. So it's kind of coming at me on 2 different sides. And I love looking at what other people are doing in their planners, but I have to be in the right frame of mind, which is why I've taken out the process of looking at what other people are doing in their planners on social media on a regular basis. When I do look at it, I intentionally go and search it out versus having that be my daily feed, what I'm seeing all the time. And I understand that is completely counterintuitive, seeing that I have a whole YouTube channel focused around my love of planners and planning and talking about planner news and things like that. But that's what I have to do for my mental health. But it took me years and years and years to get there. When I started planning back in, I think it was 2017 when I got my first 𝗫𝗓𝗄𝗏 planner, I ended up purchasing an 𝗫𝗓𝗄𝗏 planner because I was following 𝗚𝗲𝘁 𝗫𝗓𝗏 on YouTube at the time. I mean, I technically still follow her, like I'm subscribed, but I don't really watch her videos very frequently anymore. But anyway, she had gotten really into planning and started doing stuff like that because she had had an accident and was bedridden for a while. So she was, as she was getting better, like showing her planners, doing plan with me's. This is before sticker kits were even really a thing. And this is before I really even realized what an amazing tool a planner could be. So I'm watching her videos. She's doing these wonderful, beautiful plan with me's and color coordinating, and like her spreads are just looking gorgeous. And I'm like, I have never managed to put a planner or to use a planner on a regular basis, but this is pretty and I wanted to be just like her. So I thought, hey, I will buy this $50, $60 planner and I'll give it a shot, you know? And that's how I ended up getting my first 𝗫𝗓𝗄𝗏 planner. And of course I got instantly obsessed with stickers. Like people even at my work knew I was obsessed with stickers. I specifically love stickers on Etsy. I would like spend all of my breaks at work like looking for new stickers and ordering them. I literally got stickers in the mail before I got my 𝗫𝗓𝗄𝗏 planner because it took it like 3 weeks to get there. Whew, shipping's gotten a lot faster, let me tell you guys. We complain about slow shipping now, like, oh, it was bad back in the day. So I get this beautiful planner and I spend so much time like figuring out, oh, what is my first sticker kit going to be? I want to do all this stuff in my beautiful new planner. And I literally sit down to start planning and it takes me about 2 to 3 hours to plan a spread because I have this vision, this idea of perfection that I've put on myself from seeing Elle's spreads and from seeing other people's spreads as I start looking at more people in the planner community. And I know my whole title for this stream is the planner community toxic? I won't necessarily call that complete clickbait because you do have to be a little bit over the top on YouTube in order to get people to watch your content. But I think that the planner community in and of itself is not inherently toxic. But when we only center on the curated, the perfect, the aesthetic portions of planning, it can become toxic, at least to individuals, if not on a slightly broader scale. And that's what this whole rant and live stream was about. It took me a while to understand what worked for me with planning, but the reason why I ended up sticking with sticker planning instead of not sticking with planning like I hadn't with all the other times I'd tried to plan, I think there were 2 reasons behind it. First off, the 𝗫𝗓𝗄𝗏 planners and a lot of other planners, but I mean like 𝗫𝗓𝗄𝗏 and Happy Planner, those are like the 2 that really come to mind when I think about it. But they have like a different graphical style, and I was trying to articulate this the other day and I couldn't articulate it very well, but there is just like a fun flair pop style that 𝗫𝗓𝗄𝗏, specifically in my opinion, the vertical planners have, that a lot of other planners, if you were just to go to, you know, the store, to Target or whatever and pick up a planner, doesn't necessarily have. And this is kind of what I was talking about the other day, is I looked at a whole bunch of different planner brands and I was finding that a lot of them, they didn't feel fun. Even if they like had like cute, you know, type and things like that, and like cute, they didn't have the cute design elements. They didn't feel fun. They felt like, let's be feminine yet corporate. Let's be serious adults a little bit. I know that that is being kind of harsh because I'm still having a hard time articulating it. But between the 𝗚𝗏𝘁 being a vertical planner, which I had never used before, and the different graphical design elements, I did go to graphic design school just for a little bit, just for a year. Other than that, I am self-taught. Well, okay, that's more complicated. We don't need to go into that. But, you know, I do have a little bit of a design background. 𝗚𝗏𝘁 design elements and the vertical columns and all that sort of thing really spoke to me, as well as the stickers. And it took me a long time to necessarily figure out exactly how this all fit together. And it really comes back to my ADHD, which I know I bring up a lot during my streams, but I've realized that it really has a huge impact on my life. And whether you have ADHD or not, a lot of things that help people who have ADHD tend to help everybody. In general, people that have ADHD have trouble with executive function. So essentially like getting things done, staying on task, doing something when it's boring, switching between different things. It's just harder for us. I'm oversimplifying it quite a bit, but that is the overview. So typically when you make things easier for people with ADHD, you make them easier for other people too, because those things, everybody can have a hard time with them. We just have more of a hard time with them, if that makes sense. So for me, what I found, as hard and as frustrating as it was, especially at first, to put together a beautiful planner spread, I then found myself wanting to look at my planner, look at my to-do list every day. At first, I wanted to check things off just so I could put the check on the piece of paper. That went away after a little while, but I've discovered that I'm a lot more likely to look at my planner if it's cute in some way, shape, or form. Whether that's completely decorated in stickers, you know, no white space spread, or, you know, just like this week, I have some colorful ribbon checklists. I made these. I am planning on putting them in my shop. They're not currently there. As always, if you want to purchase stickers that are not released yet, you can just click the link down below to go to my Etsy shop and then just send me a message and I'll put together a custom listing for you. That's besides the point. I've noticed that with me, out of sight is often out of mind. Now, this is not a universal thing, but especially when it comes to planner tasks or things I don't want to do, if it's not written down and I don't see it, I'm highly unlikely to actually do it, unless it's something that I'm motivated to do. For instance, did I want to get up at 3 a.m. to feed the kittens last night? No, I very much did not. I got to bed at about 2 a.m., so I had about an hour's of sleep at that point. But they're cute, they're tiny, and they're babies, so I kind of had to do it. But, I mean, doing the dishes doesn't quite have the same thing behind it, especially when you live alone. It's like, oh, well, the only one person that's going to inconvenience is me. So, so even having that like on a sticky note to-do list, or even just knowing that it's on the to-do list, sometimes isn't enough for me. So I found, for me personally, having a planner that I will look at that's cute is super important. So there is the whole cute factor, but I've also found that with my planner, I have to keep it on my desk, and typically I end up keeping it open so that it takes away the step of even physically opening it, especially on a day that I don't want to do anything. Again, these are little things that I've found that I need to do to use my tools, but it also means, since I know that I have to keep my planner open and out all of the time, it goes against some of those aesthetic choices that I see on Instagram or Pinterest or Facebook that are so pretty that I would love to try out. A lot of them have to do with bookmarks and planner charms and things like that because I have cats. And if you have cats, you know that pretty much anything that is dangling in any way, shape, or form, it turns into a cat toy. Literally, when, you know, a few years ago when like AirPods came out and when like wireless earbuds first started coming out, my brother asked me what I thought of them. And I said, they sound like a really expensive cat toy. Of course, now I love my AirPods and I don't have any problems because I'm really, really picky about putting them back in the case and keeping them away from the cats and all of that good stuff. But that is something that I have to consider throughout my whole life. The other thing that I have to consider when it comes to my planner and kind of curbing my expectations of what's going to work for me versus what I see online other people doing is that while I am more likely to look at the highly decorated, beautiful planner spread, I'm also not necessarily quite as likely to put it together on a weekly basis because it takes a lot of time and I have to be in the right mood. And sometimes I'm in the mood to exercise that side of my creativity. Sometimes I'm not. And I find that this is, of course, very ironic, seeing as I have an Etsy sticker shop where I make sticker kits. And it's kind of funny that I say like, oh, so I've stopped using sticker kits a whole lot because it takes a lot of time. And usually when it comes down to it, I end up saying like, oh, well, I'd rather spend my time designing stickers than putting the stickers in my planner. But then of course I do, like for me personally, end up with that thing. It's like, well, using the stickers is not only fun, it helps me look at my planner. That's where kind of like using a little bit more color in other aspects and using simpler stickers has come into play for me. But it took me so long to figure that out. For instance, when I have a week that's quote unquote planning with pen, typically I have to have some sort of checklist. And if I'm using a planner like Erin Condren, Vertical specifically, that does not have a built-in checklist, that can be a problem and I won't end up using my planner that week. So I kind of go the other end of, oh, I don't want to have to worry about those perfectionistic standards and making everything beautiful, but then I go the other direction and I don't end up using the tool to help me remind me what needs to get done and to help give me that motivation to check things off. Because I have not found that balance between the two ends. And social media really is all about extremes. I mean, a lot of things are about extremes. PR is about extremes, like advertisements, traditional media, it's all about extremes. You know, there's a reason why the nightly news is either super depressing or super good news because, you know, slightly interesting stuff that doesn't really have any import, while it might be a little bit more healthy from a mental standpoint to hear about that, it's not interesting. People don't want to do that. So we don't hear about that. We only hear about the really depressing things that are going on in the world. Now, are there not a lot of really depressing things going on in the world? There are a lot of really depressing things going on in the world, not denying that. But there's not that balance. And with social media, now we can all have our curated feeds and we can all have that balance, or we can all show that dichotomy between really good and really bad. And not a lot of people show that in between, which is ultimately where we as human beings live. We are imperfect people. Our lives are not going to be perfect. That is a fact. That is a fact. And we're putting so much pressure on ourselves by trying to be perfect. And I think the fact that we're also putting so much pressure on ourselves that our tool for staying organized has to be perfect, that in some ways is kind of making the issue worse. And there have been some weeks where I haven't used my planner because I haven't felt like putting my stickers down for the week or whatever, until I figured out an easy way to just like throw some stickers down in my planner to make it functional for me, make it, you know, cute enough that I'll actually look at it, but not overboard. Then, I mean, I know I've been rambling on about this for a long time, and I said that I was going to kind of rely on you guys for conversation because I really do want this to be a conversation. But the other thing I do want to bring up is even when you're like placing stickers in a planner, there's the whole matter of, are you going to spend the time to make sure they're perfectly lined up? I often don't. I often don't bother. But as somebody who has a sticker shop, a lot of times when I do want to take the time to do a sticker spread, whether it is for myself or it is for a mock spread or just for photos, I want it to look pretty because, again, that's kind of the point. I mean, it's promotion. You do want it to look pretty, but then I have to fight against my internal, like, not wanting to do it. Like, on one hand, it feels like too much work, but on the other hand, then I feel inadequate if I don't do it. And it kind of gets back into that whole comparing yourself to everybody else's highlight reel. I'm also, when it comes to a lot of this stuff, I feel like I'm in a spot when it comes to maybe like photography, a little bit video, design stuff, where I am capable of doing really, really good, pretty work, but I'm often not willing to put in the time or the detail or whatever. And I can get really down on myself about that. And that is something that I have had to really, really, really work on personally. And I even now get in my head about stuff. I'm getting better about recognizing when I am just overanalyzing things. A lot of times it has to do with my sticker business, and I have gotten to a point where if I'm not on a super strict deadline for that thing, I will literally get up and walk away, sometimes take the rest of the day off, or do something completely different, or at least take a half an hour or an hour away from it. I know that's not always possible. It's not always possible for me. It's not always possible for everybody, but recognizing when I can break those spirals has been super, super, super helpful. And I've also gotten good at recognizing when other people go into them. So I think I've mentioned that I do a little bit of coaching of other Etsy sellers as well. And a lot of the people that I coach get into those overanalyzing spirals as well. And so when I'm able to kind of get in there, interject, and like break that up, it can be super helpful. And just because this often happens to be in the context of Etsy doesn't mean it's not going to happen to somebody else in the context of other things in their life. Just because, this is what I focus my time on doesn't mean that that's going to be what everybody focuses their time on. And seeing these perfect images on social media just feeds into that, because we want to make sure that we are doing perfection. We are releasing perfect images, our perfect selves out into the world, when that's not always necessary or practical or even the best ideas. So it can really just get in your head, everything having to do with this. And in the context of planners, it can really just end up sabotaging you, because as I mentioned earlier, a planner is a tool. Stickers, for sticker planning, cute stickers like, checklist stickers or whatever, they're cute. They're a tool to keep me organized. Here's a sheet that I haven't taken a bunch of stickers off of. This is a tool. It's a fun tool. It's a colorful tool. It's a tool I enjoy making. It's a tool. This is a tool. This is a tool so that I will look at my planner, so that I know what is in there, so that I know what I need to get done. Not everybody needs this particular tool. It's not going to work for everybody. Not everybody is going to need any stickers at all. Some people might like putting stamps in their planners. Some people might just plan with a pen, or some people might be amazing like artists in the drawing sense, or do calligraphy, and that's how you decorate your planner. But if you aim for perfection, you're never really going to use those tools effectively. There's that whole saying, practice makes perfect. And I heard a twisting of it a few years ago that kind of stuck in my head. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So if every time you sit down to plan a new week, if you are spending a lot of time trying to make sure everything is planned perfectly, trying to make sure that your planner spread looks beautiful, trying to make sure that you've Tetrised everything into your life, you are making that over-analyzing of your planner spread, your organization tool, permanent. Can you analyze things? Can you optimize things? Definitely. But you have to make sure that you are being realistic when you're doing so. And it's hard to get those realistic examples from a lot of social media outlets online because everybody is showing a highlight reel. And even the people that aren't photoshopping everything are still gonna try to use the best lighting, are gonna, take 5 pictures of their planner and use the one that turned out best. It's not that hard these days to come up with a simple little studio setup or, stuff like that if you really want to. Now, do you need to know? In fact, just in my head right now, I almost want to start hey, let's start a thing where we just snap a real quick, one picture of our planner for the week and post it. And it doesn't matter if it's blurry, if it's out of focus, if it's not the best picture, if it's not lit, but being able to say this is my planner. But then I'm thinking, well, I'm not sure I want to commit to that. I'm not sure that's actually one of my priorities. And I think that would be really cool, and I might do that sometimes. That would be a cool thing for me to do on the community tab. Honestly, for the past couple weeks, it's been real boring. So maybe that is a good thing for me to show, because that is often the reality. That is not my highlight reel. And people need to not learn, because it's not on the people, it's a whole societal thing. We as a society, I'm not sure how to articulate it. I feel because showing your best face isn't, or putting your best foot forward isn't a bad thing, but we just need to talk about it more, I guess. As much as talked about, we need to talk about it more. And there is one person, influencer on Instagram, I mostly know her through YouTube, 𝗀𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏, she makes videos about skincare. If you're interested in that sort of thing, check her out, because she's awesome. I've met her, she's really nice. But when she posts pictures on Instagram, she always posts the edited version and the unedited version. You typically see the edited version because that's the first one that comes, but she always does a little carousel, and she'll post the unedited version. So you can see what it started out as. So you can look at her highlight reel, and then you can take a look and maybe not see the, exact reality, but you can see the slightly less curated reality. You can see that, her skin isn't always perfect. In fact, that's how she started on YouTube, is talking about her acne and how her skin wasn't perfect. But, that sort of thing. I'm not sure, besides having a conversation, realistically exactly what steps I am going to take on a regular basis. I'm not going to start posting unedited photos and things like that, because I know realistically that is going to put even more pressure on me. And as much as I do not want to contribute to the issue, I have to take care of my mental health. So that's where I think talking about it is really important. And me holding up my basic ass planner spread for the week and be like, yeah, this is I professionally make planner stickers, and this is my spread. I make videos about planning on YouTube, and my spread in my planner, super duper basic. Have not used a sticker kit in weeks, probably months, to be perfectly honest, despite the fact that I make them. And that's the reality. And that's not the highlight reel. So I'm not necessarily going to show you all my fails, but I can at least if we can be transparent about what the reality is versus the highlight reel, or I guess the average of reality, I think then we can have a healthy conversation about this, and we can get to a better point overall in this planner community where we're not accidentally propagating unrealistic, perfectionistic expectations, because this is a community of people that want to be organized, that want to have fun, that often want to show their creativity. And there, in many of those things, is no such thing as perfection. I think I'm going to end my whole soliloquy there and actually go down and look at the comments for this like actual conversation that I said we were gonna have. I didn't realize I had so much to say because I kind of suck at planning out my videos or streams, I guess, ahead of time. I usually just think like, oh, I want to talk about this and maybe hit this and this point, and then I just kind of go for it. So you get what you get. That's why I'm rambly, because I don't script it ahead of time. 𝗫𝗏𝗐 saying that you don't, I'm kind of going down the comments that have been made because I do want to see what everybody has to say. So you say that you think it's not so much about the planner community being toxic, but very influencing on having planners being aesthetically pleasing. Yes. Yes, I agree. And planners don't need to be aesthetically pleasing. They just need to be functional for you. And some people need a certain level of aesthetically pleasing for it to be functional, and some people don't. And just because you don't need it to be aesthetically pleasing doesn't mean it can't be. It just means it doesn't have to be. Oh my goodness. I did not realize how parched my throat was. 𝗫𝗏𝗐 also saying, so we were talking, I had mentioned like Animal Crossing. For anybody who's not familiar with Animal Crossing New Horizons, part of the point of this game is to essentially design an island. I know that sounds weird. You have like this little island community, and they have like in-game like items and furniture and decorations, and a lot of people within this community will like design these super elaborate, beautiful islands. And myself, don't seem to be capable of that level of design. A lot of other people aren't as well, I'm guessing, but that's kind of where we were coming from when we were talking a little bit about Animal Crossing, that like you can compare to like these beautiful things, but like that might not be realistic for you. That might not be something you're interested in putting the time into. Again, just kind of like planners and whatnot. That's kind of where I brought that in. So 𝗫𝗏𝗐 saying, I think I enjoy some content of video games, but they are everywhere because of social media. It's not like back when we were kids. Yeah, agreed. But I think the planner community and video game content on YouTube sets me up for false hope because I could never make my stuff that amazing. Exactly. Sharon saying, I think that the attempt at perfect flat lay pictures on IG is a pressure that I avoid entirely. I just take a decent picture and post it. I absolutely love that. I need to get better at avoiding it and actually like entirely, but also posting pictures. For me, like I have to like completely set myself apart from it in order to not get into my head about it. Even if I'm saying like, oh, I'm not going to put that pressure on myself. I still start getting in my head about it. 𝗫𝗏𝗐 saying, although I love Erin Condren for quality, I didn't use Erin Condren for 2021-2022 because the mid-century circle and Hello Kitty hype drove me bonkers. Really disliked everything and switched to an Amazon planner. Was it like specifically, like, was it just like some no brand Amazon planner? Did you like it? I'm curious now. That is actually one thing that I've wanted to do a video on, is either like look at different planners available on Amazon or compare the Erin Condren offering on Amazon to the website. I think that could be two different things, but yeah. Sharon, planners keep me on track and stickers keep me interested in looking at it. Yes, exactly. I just need to not get in my head about making things perfect because I've seen all of this perfection on social media. Manito, I also think back then mental health coping skills didn't involve planning as a coping skill, only journaling. So social media can be a hunting ground for stuff like that too. That is a really good point. And luckily, we're talking more about mental health on social media. I'm seeing that a little bit more on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok nearly as much as I used to be. The only social media platform that I tend to be consistent at either checking or posting on or both is YouTube. All the other ones I go through like phases. I'm like obsessed with it for a little while and then I stop. But I do like, well, there are definitely some things going on TikTok that are pulling back the veil, not necessarily showing the highlight reels or showing not only the highlight reels, and also embracing things not being quite so perfect. You can still fall into it on TikTok, especially in certain corners of TikTok. So, but mental health, at least on TikTok, has at least been addressed more than it has on other platforms, which I do like. Or maybe not addressed more, but because of the way you find content on TikTok, for me at least, it's easier to come across. It also could be because I follow a lot of people on TikTok who have ADHD and talk about it. So maybe that's just my corner of TikTok. Let's see. Sharon excels at crooked sticker placement. Me too! Oh my goodness. All the crooked sticker placement. It literally takes me 3 times as long to put a spread together if I'm trying to make my stickers perfect and not crooked. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Manito, I'm sorry I didn't see your comment about asking me to slow down a little bit. Thank you for saying that I'm doing well, for explaining. I hope I didn't get too confusing going fast and not seeing your comment. But yeah, if you have any other clarifying questions about anything I was talking about, feel free to ask. Since I was talking very stream of consciousness, hopefully I'll remember exactly what that was about. Ackman has way more stickers than can ever use, but I do not need 99% of each page covered like others do. I definitely have more stickers than I could ever use, and not just because I make stickers, but because I've bought more stickers than I could ever use. That's part of the reason why I started making stickers. Actually, at first, before I even started my sticker shop, I realized I was spending so much money on stickers that it would be cheaper for me to buy a silhouette portrait to cut my own stickers and buy printable stickers. And then I was like, oh, well, I could make some of my own stickers. And I was like, oh, well, now I could just start an Etsy shop. I have all this, well, not all, but I had most of the stuff I needed. I still needed to get some packaging stuff and work on that sort of thing. But I had the basics already. So yeah. Ackman's also saying people on social media only show the best, not all the hours time it took to get the perfect photo or video. That is an excellent point, and I didn't really talk about that too much, but it does take a lot of time to get the perfect photo or video, not necessarily just when you're taking it, but also in developing the skills that you need in order to take it. The tools that are available these days and the information that's available is significantly better than it was even 5 or 10 years ago. But I know for me, I had a little bit of a leg up in some ways because I took photography and video classes in high school. I took a couple of those in college too. So I didn't have to start from the ground up. I knew most of the technical stuff as far as shooting video, as far as taking pictures. I still can't remember all of the technical words for all of the different camera settings, but I know how to use them, and I know I sometimes mix them up, but I mostly know what they do. I can never get f-stops and, let's see. Okay, there's f-stop, aperture, and ISO. I'm pretty sure f-stop and aperture are the same thing, but I could be wrong on that. I always get that confused. But I know when you're using phones to photograph these days, and they're really good now, you don't necessarily need that. But even editing tools like Lightroom, I learned while working on a job in college. I did some photo editing and some graphic design there, so I learned how to do the photo editing both in Photoshop in high school and college, and then in Lightroom. And so I came into the social media world kind of knowing how to do this stuff, but also I think partially because of my ADHD, not always being willing to spend the time to do it, which is kind of where a lot of my perfectionism frustration can often come from, in that I know I'm capable of it, but I'm not willing to spend the time to actually make it look good, and then I compare it to everybody else's highlight reels, and I start to feel inadequate. Caramel Cookie, there is no glorying in practicing, but without practice, there is no glory. Saw this quote on Insta the other day. Yes, I like that. That is very, very good. Very, very good point. BBC 600, I would indeed think some people worry too much about aesthetic planning or notes, that it leads to unrealistic expectations. Also, the concept of planning can be toxic in and of itself. People must be somewhat flexible to change what might transpire. You can't have every second planned down to the T. That is an excellent point as well. I have tried to do that in the past several times, and I have realized in the past couple of years specifically, I don't think necessarily after I was diagnosed with ADHD, but it really goes into it, that I can't plan too much because I plan everything down to the minute, because I won't get it done. And I'm sure everybody experiences this to some extent, but I think I've heard it's exacerbated with when you do have ADHD, that you can plan to do something, but if your brain isn't in it, it can be really hard, if not impossible, to get it done. And I know that sounds really weird maybe to somebody who doesn't have ADHD, but if you have ADHD or experience something similar, you'll probably understand the concept of bad brain days, whether you call it that or not. Sometimes I'll just have a day where my brain is just like, nope, we're not gonna today. We're just not gonna function. Or, I'll function to do this thing over here, but I'm not gonna do that thing over there. And because I do have my own business and work from home, I am in a position where, as long as I don't have a deadline, I can be flexible with that. But I know that when I did have a traditional job, I was constantly feeling like I was beating my head against the desk trying to make it obey. And that goes back to both societal expectations, but also to planning. So one thing that has worked really well for me in planning is essentially giving myself permission to roll things over when I don't get them done. Now, sometimes something gets a little extreme and I've been rolling it over for days or sometimes weeks at a time. And in that case, I have to determine, okay, is this something that actually has to get done? Or is this something that doesn't have to get done? And sometimes it's something that has to get done eventually, but it doesn't have to get done super, super soon. Or there's a time limit on it, but that time limit's not for another couple weeks. And I know that, okay, it might be rough in a couple weeks, but if I can't make my brain do it now, then it's essentially a waste of time for me to try. And again, that could be an ADHD thing, but I know it's an ADHD thing, but I'm assuming people without ADHD experience that as well, just maybe not to as much of an extent. But yeah, when my brain doesn't want to for whatever reason, I often can't make it. One of the things that often motivates people with ADHD is that that deadline. And so usually if there's a looming deadline, I can make myself focus even though it's very hard. But sometimes I also know, like, oh, that deadline's flexible and I can try to get around it. So that can make it very, very hard for me to plan and to stay ahead of things, because I'm not only trying to balance time, but I'm also trying to balance what my brain is going to allow me to do, as well as mental energy and other, mood swings and all that good stuff. So I also will fully recognize that even though I go through all of this as a human being, I live alone, which has some benefits, but it also has some downsides. Obviously, like, I don't have somebody to like split the chores with and stuff like that, but I also don't have kids. So I know that kids also throw another wrench into being productive and wanting to do things. Obviously, kids are also going to add a lot of deadlines to things. Living with someone, whether it's a roommate or a significant other, is also going to add some deadlines too. For instance, if I don't want to do the dishes, it only really impacts me. But if I lived with someone, it would impact them too. I also don't have a dishwasher. So I have decided wherever I live next, it must have a dishwasher. And if it does not have a built-in dishwasher, I will be buying one. That is just kind of a functioning thing for me that may be neither here nor there. Lisa, saying you're thinking about this stuff yourself. I hope that you found my thoughts and this conversation helpful, or at least thought-provoking, because I don't think we're all going to agree as human beings. I think we can all have valid opinions that don't necessarily agree with each other, but we can have a conversation about it and choose, what we decide we think, I guess, about it. Caramel Cookie, I'm loving calling my main planner my junk planner. It's an all-pen daily duo. I'm allowed to be spontaneous and do whatever I want on all my spreads. Sometimes I plan, journal, or use it as a notebook. I love that idea. Just the idea of calling it your junk planner twists the expectation that it does not have to be perfect. I'm not sure if I'm quite ready to do that, but I definitely have done that, like not exactly that, but something kind of similar with notebooks. A lot of times when I do a notebook, I will kind of set it up with a table of contents like one would a bullet journal. And so, I'll write, whatever it is in the table of contents, but then if I want to take like 2 or 3 pages to do something and it ends up being like whatever, then, it goes in the table of contents, but because I have everything indexed to some extent, I can skip over it. I will say, I really suck at keeping up on said notebooks, to like take notes and stuff like that. I'll also mention that I don't do the table of contents usually at the time I'm writing in the notebook. I usually go back and do like several pages at a time, but I usually write a title at the top, so it's easy for me to go back and do my table of contents. I know that was kind of a mini explanation. Let me know if you have any questions about that. CK Franken Planner, I post all my shoddily lit crooked stickers, smeared ink photos. It's liberating. Yay! I love it! I need to do that more. Nanito, yes, a no-brand Amazon planner, but I really disliked the design. Colors of the Erin Condren. I loved the layers. I liked layers too as well. I ended up getting a Legendary Deluxe weekly planner. It's similar to Erin Condren, or similar to EC Horticultural Planner, but the paper was just as great, I think. Are you saying, wait, did you mean horizontal planner? I mean, a horticultural planner sounds cool too, but I've never, I'm literally Googling Legendary Deluxe weekly planner so I can take a look at it. Oh, I think I might have heard of this one. This one? It's looking familiar. This might be one of the ones I signed up for the mailing list of. I have it up on a tab. I'm going to look at it. I mean, the cover looks pretty. Let's see. Lynn, the people I watch most on YouTube, the person's personality is what gets me. Those people could have bad lighting or put their kits upside down, and I will watch and support their shop. I love that. I love hearing when people are not necessarily seeing through all the lights, because, I mean, good lighting can often, realistically, good lighting makes things easier to see. But I like that you're not necessarily saying, oh, that person has bad quality, therefore I'm going to totally nix them or not going to watch them. I think that is great, because you're looking at people for their content and their personalities. Yay! Nanito, it's funny, I just got my AC compact vertical and horizontal A5, and here I'm whiting out the annoying mini calendars. I did that too. Except I made a sticker for it because I have oodles of sticker paper. But yeah, that I need to actually make stickers sized for that and release them in my shop. I'm sure it seems silly. I'd probably put a border around them. I think I talked about this the other day, because my sticker paper does not match the white of the planner. I'm not sure if how well you can see it, but it's like a different white. It's like a cool white, and the planner's a little bit more of a warm white. The mismatch of white bugs me. But putting a border around it and making it effectively like somewhere you could put a quote or something like that would solve that quite nicely. But yeah. Let's see. Ackman saying way too many perfect pictures on Instagram, for example, always show a clean desk, etc. Like, it's like that 75% of the time in real life. Sure. Yeah, my desk is really... Okay, I've gotten better at keeping it somewhat clean, mostly because I've gotten used to like where I will accept piles of stuff to build up. And the rest of it stays clean. So it's like organized chaos, kinda. For a while I was great at keeping my coffee table clean, and then it turned into piles of planners and kitten supplies because my bathroom is tiny and didn't have room for it. BBC 600 reminds me of the Hey Arnold cartoon episode, The List. Arnold tries to follow a list to the perfect Sunday and everything goes wrong. It was just too much to do. I watched Hey Arnold as a kid. I do not remember that episode, but like in my head, it's like making like the perfect like kids cartoon episode. Yes, kids cartoons, like I'm not going to say they're all great, but man, some of them managed to get in some real good life lessons, I have to say. Manito saying, also planning just comes down to preference and the lifestyle you have. Very, very true. And one thing I will say is that people who just use like Google Calendar or Apple Calendar on their phone, even though you are not using a paper planner, you are still planning. Just because your planning style does not fit into the beautiful aesthetic planning community, or you're not using a paper planner, doesn't mean you're not planning. You might be using, you might call it a calendar and not a planner per se, but you are still planning in said calendar. That makes sense. Planning is the act of organizing your time and or to-dos. I probably have come up with a better explanation of that, but yeah, I am a huge, huge proponent that planners and planning aids, whether it's a physical planner or a digital planner or a digital calendar, is just a tool to help keep you organized, and it comes down to what you prefer. For instance, I do a hybrid of Google Calendar and my physical planner. I don't tend to use the monthly pages of my physical planner because all of that goes into Google Calendar. That's what works for me. Lynn, being insecure is a learned behavior that should be dealt with in elementary. You should live and be yourself. I was taught that I am good enough. I agree that it's a learned behavior, but not being good enough is also very, very entrenched in our society, so that whether they mean to or not, a lot of parents pass this along to their kids. And so then their kids kind of do that and impose that onto one another. I was homeschooled through 7th grade. There were a couple of small exceptions, but for the most part, homeschooled through 7th grade. And for the most part, the homeschooling community was very supportive, very kind, very little bullying. I won't say no bullying, but very little bullying, like very rarely was an issue. People were pretty supportive. You also have, a lot of kids that are not only at different places developmentally because of age, but also just because there, are different things going on. Like looking back, like I'm sure a lot of the kids had ADHD or have some form of autism, or, dyslexia or things like that. But as a community, we were kind of inclusive to everybody. As I said, like we had a lot of different grades. You usually wouldn't be like, we'd have like 1st graders and 6th graders in the same class, but you might have like, 4th, 5th, 6th or something. And then, learning something that was applicable to everybody. So there was a lot of like that inclusivity. But even with the kids around my neighborhood who went to public school, and I'm sure learned some of this from their parents, there was some of that insecurity. There were definitely like comments, and I'm not sure full out bullying, but like teasing and just kind of things of like, oh, I'm, maybe not good enough. And I, as a kid, I grew up in a pretty positive setting, but I still managed to internalize it. So I think while you can definitely raise your own kids to be enough, it also has to do with the society that they're growing up in as a whole, and what they're exposed to. So I think that's something that we can definitely we can work on as a group, but also work on individually. In our own families and with our own friends and kids and all that good stuff. Ackman, EC products or a dishwasher, which is more necessary? A dishwasher is more necessary. I'm also very blessed in the fact that I sometimes get PR stuff from 𝗚𝗏𝗁𝗠, so oftentimes I don't have to choose. I will say though, like I don't think I've been asked this recently, but it's come up. When I do get PR from 𝗚𝗏𝗁𝗠, for anybody who's interested, it's part of the agreement that I'm not allowed to sell it. So I can get the PR, but I cannot make money off of selling the PR. I can only make money off of like content, interestingly enough. In case anybody's curious, giveaways are fine. I can't sell it. I have not been organized lately to even attempt to do a giveaway. Menino, definitely agreeing with an earlier comment. I use my planner for my tarot readings and spiritual work, one for everyday life planning too. Very nice. I meant, Erin Condren horizontal, it autocorrected to horticultural. Wouldn't that be cool though? Like, I don't know how you would do a horticultural planner, but that would be cool. BBC 600, my mom at first thought dishwashers are stupid. Now she uses them all the time. When the lash snapped and it needed repair, she wanted it done ASAP. Won't let her live it down. Yes, I've had a really tremulent, I've had a really interesting relationship with doing the dishes since I was a little kid. Maybe not like little kid, but like, anyway. In hindsight, a lot of it does harken back to ADHD, and like my parents not really understanding what was going on in my head, which I don't blame them for, but like I recognize I have issues with the dishes. But when the one time I had a dishwasher and I had a roommate who was good at doing her own dishes, I didn't have a problem keeping the dishes like done or getting them done. For the most part, when the dishwasher was clean, like I just unloaded it. It wasn't a big deal. So I think having a dishwasher to wash my dishes, it definitely would not make my kitchen clean. My kitchen is far from clean, probably will never be clean, but it will help significantly, having a dishwasher. Yeah. Yeah, Ackman saying to Lynn B, parents pushing their kids into sports when they are not great or mean to the kids. I wouldn't necessarily say pushing them into sports when they're not quote unquote great is mean to the kids, because sometimes kids will enjoy the sport even if they're not great. But I definitely agree that sports have not a society, I'm a culture, I guess, of, you know, you must be the best, you know, and if, you know, if your team doesn't win, it's your fault, or, you know, you could have done better and all that sort of thing. I know some, like, younger kids' sports are like, we don't keep score, we're just here to have fun and stuff like that. And sometimes that can be fun as well. I think it can be done right. I think it cannot be done right. I know I did a little bit of sports. I definitely enjoyed playing soccer a little bit, but then as I got older and it got more competitive, I stopped enjoying it. And so I think that there's nothing wrong with competitive sports, but it's not the only way to have sports and to have fun playing sports, if that makes sense. In college, I was the person that didn't like going to the football games, which was annoying because one of my school was one of the big football schools in the state. And so, like, football games were really big. I preferred going to the gymnastics meets if I did go to any sporting events. And I think a lot of that, I mean, you were kind of competing against everybody else, but you were also kind of competing against yourself. So it was like, you know, you're trying to improve yourself just as much as you're trying to beat everybody else, I guess. That's the feeling I got for it. I felt like it was a lot more positive and a lot less like, you know, like we wanted our team to do good, but it's not like we actively wanted the other team to do bad at the same time, if that made sense. I don't know. At my school, it just had a very different feel to it. And I feel like wanting to win is very different than necessarily wanting the other guys to like lose and do badly. I don't know. I think there's a place for playing sports because it's fun, not just for the competition aspect, unless that is what makes it fun for you. I'm the kind of person that if I'm not good enough to win at least, you know, a decent amount of the time, then it's not fun for me. I'm also not a huge sports person, so there you go. BBC 600 saying, yeah, I had to do skating and soccer. I have coordination issues and hate sports. Ackman saying, and that has an effect on them growing up, going back to the sports thing. Patricia, those perfect planners posted on IG are sometimes just for photos and not the planner that the affiliate actually uses. That is an excellent point. That is an excellent point, and I don't necessarily think about that a lot, especially if people don't specifically say, oh, this is a mock spread or something like that. But, you know, sitting down and, you know, putting together a planner for the pretty picture or more as like an artistic expression for people that do memory planning, for instance, is very different than like, oh, this is the planner I use on a daily basis and it's always perfect and I never, you know, write off center or whatever it is. Minio saying, there are influencers out there, but we all have some control and choose what to tolerate or be exposed to. An example is I'd rather watch planner videos rather than Wipeout. Lol, yes. Most of my consumption of media is YouTube. I don't watch TV a ton. You know, TV shows, there are some shows I watch, but for years and years, it's probably been at least partially, if not primarily, YouTube for me. Menino is also saying whatever I can do to learn to be productive, I can pass it along to others, or whatever skills I can learn, even if it's not for me, might be needed for someone else. That's a very, very good point. Yeah, being able to pass along that knowledge, or even looking at different products. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but when I'm saying, oh, I don't like this, I usually like to give my reasons as to why it doesn't necessarily work for me specifically, and not necessarily say because it's bad or something like that, so that people can, say, oh, it wasn't for Tef, but it could be for me. That's just, that's what I like to do. But yeah, also pass along information. I will say, though, that there is a tendency to want to pass along information to kind of one up somebody or be like a better person somehow. And I'm not articulating it as well as I would like to be. I guess I should say that there's a selfless way of passing along information, and there's also a selfish, like, oh, I want to be the person that everybody comes to for information, or I want to know better, or I want to be able to give better advice or something like that. And that can be harmful, especially when that person does not necessarily want the advice. And that is one thing that as a society, I feel like we have accepted the idea of giving people unsolicited advice, and then getting annoyed when they don't want it. That has definitely been talked about more, but I can talk about it again because this is my channel. So yeah. Ackman saying, parents, fathers mostly cannot handle it if their child does not score the winning point, etc. They need to chill out. Yeah, my parents were better in that sort of thing. I definitely agree. Or I should say, yes, I definitely agree. Luckily, my parents, for the most part, were a little bit more like, just do your best and stuff like that. I know I say I'm not a big sports person. My family is also not a sports family, so that probably helps quite a bit. My dad was also an engineer, so he wouldn't talk about the importance of scoring the winning point. He would talk about the importance of loading the dishwasher so that you get the maximum dishes and water circulation going so that everything stays clean. That's part of my issues with the dishes. There's some other things, but yeah, I got lectures on engineering, how to load the dishwasher and like engineering the loading of the dishwasher as a kid. But being an engineer, I could also ask him like all sorts of things. Like, kids are like, oh, how does this work? And my dad actually knew. Whereas if and when I have kids and my kids like ask how a car engine works, I'm like, there's gas and there's like a mini explosion, and that's about all I know. So my dad, he was a software engineer, but he also knew other stuff. So yeah, but yeah, I agree. There's definitely that like, oh, my kid's the best. My kid can do no wrong. My kid has to be the very best. And that can be toxic, not only for the kid, but as society as a whole. And also for the parents, allowing that to proliferate as a culture for the parents can then get toxic, both for the parents and like other parents and also for the kids. So, BBC 600, see, I don't mind watching sports sometimes, but playing them is not my cup of tea. I'm usually just not into watching sports. I will if somebody I'm hanging out with really wants to. Typically, I don't tend to hang out with those sorts of people, but like I wouldn't hold it against somebody if they liked sports. As I said, in college, I liked going to gymnastics meets. I went to a couple football games. Those were kind of boring. Occasionally, I watched soccer. Or football for the rest of the world. I should say occasionally, by like occasionally 10 years ago I watched it. Most of like me watching sports right now is like esports. I watch competitive Pokemon video game tournaments every so often. That's fun. But yeah, I'm a dork. Manito's saying, yes, constructive criticism is important when giving feedback instead of just slandering somebody, because someone could have really spent time making and putting effort into something. I agree. And I had one boss in college. It was actually the same job, the boss for the same job I had where I did graphic design. She didn't do graphic design herself, but it was a kids program within the college. They did like a summer camp and stuff during the school year. And so I was in their like graphic design office and doing stuff, but I also had to attend all of the other trainings and stuff, and I did a little bit of the camp counselor thing. So she said a few things that have really, really stuck with me. But one of the things she would talk about a lot is like when you're giving feedback, do like the whole shit sandwich thing, where you start with something that you liked, and then you give the constructive criticism, and then you end up with something else that worked well. That way, you're giving them the feedback, and giving it to them in a constructive way, but you are not just being negative, not just telling them what they need to change. Obviously, that's not going to be applicable in all situations, but she was really big about fostering a like communicative and positive work environment. She didn't always succeed in like specific points, but she tried. I will give her an A for effort. I won't give her an A+ for effort. I'll give her an A for effort. There are some things that she didn't succeed on. Something else that she said that stuck with me is that since I'm just remembering it now, is she doesn't agree with the golden rule, treat others as you would like to be treated. And at first I'm like, what? You don't agree with the golden rule? But then she followed up with saying I don't know what she called it, but she said that she thinks you should treat others the way they want to be treated, not the way you want to be treated. Because just because, for instance, you like hugs doesn't mean that person likes hugs, or, what have you. So, take into consideration how you would want to be treated, but also take into consideration how they would want to be treated, so that you're treating them respectfully for what they prefer. So yeah, that also stuck with me for a long time. Trisha says, well, I'm watching the NBA finals pregame. Sports big here. Yeah. Oh, this is your first live. Hi, Patricia. Thank you for showing up. I hope you're having a good time. Oh, yeah, I'm getting to the point where I am not necessarily quite articulate as I was at the beginning, but at least I don't have to leave at a specific time this time, because the kittens ate right before. By the way, at the end of everything, if you guys want, I can go grab the kittens and show them to you, if that's something you're interested in. But I do want to finish this conversation first. So yeah, I want to make sure I get through those comments. But yeah, going back to the sports thing, Patricia, I mentioned I didn't grow up in a sports family. I did go to a sports college, but I did not go to a sports high school. I went to an arts high school. Like, I think we had a cross country team, but it was literally like 3 people that wanted to do cross country, and they had to technically sign up through the school to be a team. And then my senior year, there was a middle school girls volleyball team. My high school was like middle and high school, but yeah, we didn't have normal sports. Like, if you think of normal like high school cliches, like the dancers were like the cheerleaders, and the like award-winning jazz band was like the football players, and I hung out with the theater kids, even though I was a graphic designer. So that's my high school for you. We didn't have football games. We had poetry slam nights and jazz like fundraiser evenings and things. Like it was weird. But yeah, I recognize my background is weird. I did do some like more casual sports as a kid, but I did not have the typical high school sports experience. And then by the time I got to college, as I said, I wasn't really into football, so I didn't really go to those games. I did go to gymnastics. Part of the thing with football is that you had to get up hella early to get tickets, and I was just like, nope, not gonna do that. Whereas gymnastics, you could just kind of waltz in to get your free like student tickets. So yeah. Yay. Ackman, interesting. All of the EC postings and affiliates posting all over again about the seasonal. I'm thinking you're meaning the seasonal surprise box. I mean, they are shipping out today or tomorrow for most people. I think I got my email that mine's shipping today. It had like a tracking number, but I'm not sure if it was updated yet. A lot of times when I get my emails from Erin Condren, it doesn't actually ship. It doesn't actually get picked up until the next day. So I'm checking. Yeah, it has not. Either they gave me a bad tracking number or it's not completely in the system yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's part of the reason why people are talking about it. I also think that the new affiliate newsletter just went out. I think it was yesterday. I'm not allowed to show you guys the affiliate newsletters, and a lot of it is under embargo. I was going to say maybe the seasonal surprise box was in there, but it doesn't look like it was. I think 𝗂𝗏𝗠𝗃 also sent out a text the other day saying that they were available. So yeah, they usually go a lot faster than they are this time around. It will be interesting to see how falls goes. But yeah, mine, I am getting it, and I will be doing an unboxing. If I have it by Monday, I might do it Monday. We'll see. We'll just see how it kind of works out, because I'm also getting, if you missed the announcement at the beginning, I was chosen to get a PR copy of the academic planner. So I think the embargo for that is up on the 7th, if I remember correctly. So that's when I can show it to you guys. So I might have to do like a special like Tuesday or Wednesday live stream. We'll see. Ackman, surprise box, and now it took over 1.5 weeks to finally sell out. They usually sell in like a couple days. Yeah, exactly what I was saying. Let's see. I'm not quite sure what you mean, Manito, in that comment. And then right after you said typo, so I don't know. Oh, what is normal? Okay, that makes more sense. What is normal for the spider is chaotic for the bird. Yeah, very good point. Patricia saying last year or two, the seasonal surprise box hasn't sold out quickly. I got last summer's box on sale late fall. Interesting. I wonder if it's the summer one that doesn't usually sell out quickly, or maybe they're making more boxes, or maybe they're just not as popular now. CK Frankenplanner wants to see the kittens. This is my first live and I haven't seen them yet. Okay, we will definitely have to do the kittens. Sharon's getting time to retire for the evening. I hope you have a good rest of your evening, Manito. Your character is who you are, and your reputation is what other people think of you. I like it. Ackman's supposed to get the seasonal surprise box on Sunday. Yay. Patricia, they had a bunch of new winter boxes left over, and you could get for free with a $75 purchase at some stores. Interesting. So yeah, either they're doing more of them or they're just not as popular. That's... I highly doubt I could get a straight answer from my 𝗂𝗏𝗠𝗃 affiliate on that one, because they're probably not going to want to admit they're not as popular, but it would be really interesting to know. Since at this point, we're just kind of chatting and doing the comments and whatnot, which is fine. I'm having a good time. But let me go ahead and go grab the kittens. I have to put Coco and Opal in my bedroom, so it will probably take me a couple minutes. I'm going to put my be right back screen up. I'll probably be like 3 minutes or something. But yeah, I just want to let you know, I'm going to go get the kittens. We'll continue to chat while I'm covered in kittens. I don't know how long it will last, because they're squirming and like going a lot more places now, and I'm not sure how easily it will be to wrangle them while chatting, but we'll do our best to try. I will be right back, and I will then look at whatever chats come in while I'm away. and I have kittens. Um, for anybody who doesn't know the whole story of why I have kittens, I foster for my local humane society, and so I got these little guys as 3-week-old little bottle babies. Just today they ate their first meal without me having to coax them. It's very, very exciting. They are also litter box trained now, which is also really exciting. I don't have to wipe butts anymore. So this, they came with different names from the Humane Society, but I renamed them. If I can grab them to show you, come on. Ugh. This is Pete. Hello. They're more than double the size they were when I got them. And this one's Ricky. Ricky is a sweetheart. He passes what we like to call the upside down kitty test. Let's see if he'll do it now. You can just put him like that and they kind of like, they don't wiggle like that, and now he's not passing. But he has passed it in the past where they don't like squirm, and according to my mom and dad, it is a good way to see if the cat is going to be like easygoing, I guess. Pete does not pass the upside down kitty test. I know. So the kittens, fun kitten story. For the last few days, they have had free reign of my bathroom. At first, when I got them, they mostly just ate and slept. So they lived in their carrier, which I put in my tub. And now I have moved them over to the floor. So they have their carrier with the door off. So they still have like a little cave to go sleep in. But they have free run of the bathroom right back there. It's not a very big bathroom. It's one of those bathrooms that like, there's enough room to like go and like, I mean, you can walk in it, but like the door doesn't even fully open because it like bumps the toilet a little bit. There's not enough room for an actual counter. It's like a pedestal stink, all that good stuff. So anyway, they have free run of the bathroom, but that's my only bathroom. So quite literally, when I'm trying to use the toilet, they try to get into my pants, which maybe TMI, but I find it hilarious to tell them to get out of my pants. So, yeah, they are a little dirty right now from the whole weaning thing. They've been pretty good at cleaning themselves, but I think I need to clean them up a little bit. They're still babies. They're just babies. So, yeah. Yep, these are the kittens. They are cute. Patricia, have a good dinner and have a good rest of your evening. So yeah. Let's see. Let me take a look at the chat and what I have missed. Ha ha ha. I saw one post that people were getting surprise boxes for $5 because the coupons are stackable. I know that some of the coupons were stackable for the Life Planner release, but I thought Erin Condren fixed it. It'd be cool if they were. I know sometimes stuff doesn't apply to the surprise boxes, though. Let's see. Manito, wish we could be physically playing with the kittens. Yes, they are soft. They are cute. You can physically play with kittens by going to your local shelter and offering to foster kittens. This is kitten season, and shelters are getting lots and lots of kittens. Not all of them are bottle babies. Sometimes they're mom-less kittens. Sometimes they're just kittens that like need another week before they can be adopted out. In the U.S. foster or shelter system, kittens have to be 2 pounds before they can be spayed or neutered, and they can't be adopted out until they're spayed or neutered. So if they're like just under 2 pounds, they have to go to foster for a few days or just stay in the shelter. Bottle babies are a little bit more urgent to get out of the shelters oftentimes because a lot of shelters don't have the staff to be there overnight, and bottle babies have to be fed overnight. But even if it's for a few days, being in someone's home is almost always going to be a better experience than being in a shelter. So, that can be really great. I've been fostering for a little over a year now. I foster with the 𝗬𝗏𝘓𝗔𝗪𝗔 Society, who provides most, if not all, of the supplies you need. I used to say all, and then with these guys, I ended up spending some money for the first time. Part of it was that it was like cheaper for me to just buy it, easier and cheaper for me to just like buy it locally than to drive over. But, what are you doing? They also like to feel me up, by the way. They're just like, yeah, we don't understand what boobs are. We're just gonna walk wherever. But yeah, so check with your local shelter if you're interested in fostering animals. The 𝗬𝗏𝘓𝗔𝗪𝗔 Society specifically does all sorts of animals. My mom's fostered puppies. I foster cats, mostly because I have 2 cats myself, and so I can't really do dogs. Dogs are a little bit messier and harder in some cases. My sister fostered a pregnant guinea pig once. I've seen emails for bunnies and stuff like that. But yeah, especially if you like cats, I know a lot of shelters have so many cats and kittens right now, specifically kittens, that a lot of them need a lot of help. So definitely take a look in your area. A lot of shelters will require you as a volunteer to do a background check, and they might ask you to pay for that. I had to pay $20 for mine. But other than that, apart from these guys, whereas, as I said, there were some supplies like cotton balls and baby wipes and stuff like that. I was like, it's cheap, I'll just buy it. But for the most part, after I paid my $20 for my background check, the only financial contribution on my part has been gas to get to and from the shelter. And then mostly time for the little ones. These are my first bottle babies, but yeah, you don't have to foster bottle babies if you don't want to. But they've been interesting. So yeah, definitely check out sheltering, and you can have perma kittens if you want. Or fostering. You can have perma kittens, yes. Okay, hey, my hair is not a food or a toy or anything. My hair is my hair. I agree that there's a lot of product and probably oil in it, and it probably smells interesting, but what the hell? Oh, Manita, when my baby 𝗏𝗏𝗏 name was a kitten, he stayed in my room and kept crawling into corners. He had to go on so many rescue missions to get him out. Oh my goodness. My 2 cats are from the shelter, and my 3rd kitten was born into the family. I also live outside a city. The nearest shelter is 3 hours driving, or I would. Yeah, my shelter that I foster with is, on a good day, about a 40-minute drive, 40-minute drive. I've definitely had to... Okay, guys, this would be cute if I wasn't worried about you falling on the ground. The last foster assignment I had before these guys, I had a pregnant mom who gave birth to some kittens, and she would not eat. I later found out it was a combination of her being picky and being in labor, but she was so skinny, and I was really worried, and so I drove out to the shelter like 3 times in 4 days or something crazy like that. And we were having bad traffic. So one time it literally took me an hour and a half to get there. It was kind of bad. I had a coaching client that day, and I'm like, hey, I'm happy to do coaching from the car, because at that point it's like I'd been working with that client enough that I knew I wouldn't have to look at my computer screen. But I'm like, we can just reschedule if you'd prefer. Luckily, in the same way I like to say I'm a crazy cat lady, she's a crazy chicken lady. So she was pretty understanding. And I had also never canceled coaching before. So it was like, hey, most people call out sick every so often. I call out because I have to run to the shelter to get food for a cat. So yeah. Funny story, Little was born on my brother's foot. Oh my God, that's adorable. And I think he inherited all my brother's bad traits because he's a crazy 1-year-old kitty. To be fair, he's a 1-year-old kitty. They get a little crazy. Yes, these kitties are ready to explore. For the most part, they don't get to come out here very much because Coco and Opal, my cats, are not hugely crazy about kittens. Opal has gotten to the point where she will tolerate them, mostly in the same way she'll tolerate Kiki, my mom's dog, who occasionally gets to make an appearance. Sometimes they bring her. She's this like 8-pound Papillon, like she's adorable, and I have a little sling I put her in, so occasionally she gets to come and hang out for streams. Not lately since I've had the kittens, but there are a few. Okay, do not bite me. So I'm like, oh, okay, so Coco's okay with them, or so Opal's okay with them, and then I got maybe 3 feet away from Coco yesterday, and they got hissed at. Luckily, I'm not sure if they know what getting hissed at means, but, you know, I like to think it's probably not the best experience for them. At least, you know, I pretend, I don't know. I don't like getting hissed at. I'm sure they don't either. Or either that or they don't know what getting hissed at means, and obviously Coco does not like them, or she would not be hissing at them. She was also, I don't think you can, so they're like way back there, so you can't see them. But I have these like cat shelves. Yes, they're literally like essentially bookshelves that I have high up for the cats. So I was standing on the ground with the cats, and Coco was up, you know, 6.5 feet on these bookshelves essentially. So like, and she had ways to run away. So she even though she was not happy about the situation, she was safe. Okay, Pete is starting to get bitey. Pete is the feisty one. Ricky is going to maybe not be a lap cat, but he's going to be a sweetie. Okay, they're both going to be sweeties, but Ricky is going to be a little bit more sweet, and Pete's a little bit more feisty. I will say, though, given the choice in the future, I will probably take cats that were bottle babies over cats that weren't, just because I think these guys like have a better association with humans because they associated me with food so early on in life. And I think they'll be cuddlier than my cats are. I will also say, though, that a lot of cats in shelters are weaned very early, which is not great for them. But in a lot of shelters, they don't have the resources, as I said, to care for like little bottle baby kittens. So in some shelters, it's a choice between wean them early or euthanize them. So if you look at it that way, it's better to wean them early, but it can also cause some issues later in life. I'll also mention that a lot of the baby, you know, the kittens in shelters who are like bottle babies aren't actually orphans. A lot of times they're found outside and people are well-meaning and scoop them up, but mom just isn't with them right then. And so they essentially separate the kittens from mom and bring them into the shelter. So if you ever find kittens outside, if they seem to be in good shape, especially if they're like really young, you know, see if you can find mom too. I'm not saying like don't bring the cats to the shelter eventually, but you know, maybe try to bring the whole family to the shelter, especially if mom's not super feral. Obviously that's like, there are so many factors that can go into that. There are also a lot of TNR programs around, which is a trap, neuter, release. So basically sterilizing cat colonies and then letting them live outside. That way the cats don't continue to multiply. Okay, what are you doing? Let's put you on my desk and see what you do. At least you won't be, oh, there's enough room for you to look at them now. Except I have to keep an eye on Pete. Make sure he doesn't do anything. Oh, he's backing away from the stickers. You're like, no, scary stickers? Scary stickers? Okay, scary stickers. So I know we've been going on about 2 hours now, and the cats are getting a little bit rambunctious, but there are a few new pictures of the 𝗂𝗏𝗂𝗏 monthly planners. Does anybody want to go over those in this live, or we could save them for Monday? It's nothing too explosive, but I'm happy to do that. While I'm giving you guys a minute to comment, Manito's asking, what's my best cat memory? Oh, I'm sure I have a good one, but I can't think of it right now. I mean, I have some like funny fostering memories, like the time that I wanted to go take a nap. And in the past, I've always had my fosters in my bedroom. So I wanted to go take a nap, but I couldn't because right in the middle of my bed was Mama Cat nursing some kittens. And I'm like, I guess nap's not happening today. So yeah, I've had that happen. Favorite cat memory. I mean, it wasn't a great cat memory, but Opal had to have emergency surgery 2 days after I adopted her, so that was great. Coco hung herself from a window shade pole once. Luckily, I was there to rescue her. Again, not a great cat memory, but you know, eventful. I mean, the memory of them eating earlier today from bowls for the first time, so I didn't have to bottle feed them and potentially not have to get up in the night as much anymore. That will be a great memory. What else? My first foster cat was really adorable. I mean, just in general, she was a good memory. She, like, it was a little bit of a struggle. Her name was Marigold. I called her Mari. And she was like a 9-month-old, like medium to long hair tabby. And she had a broken leg, so she was on cage rest. And so she was in my bedroom, and Coco and Opal weren't allowed in there, but she was the sweetest cat, and she could only get up and walk around with me there because I couldn't let her jump while her leg healed. And she was just a sweetie, and I like cried for 2 days after I brought her back because she was just so sweet. I think there is a picture of her on my Instagram. She might in fact be one of the last pictures there. So if you want to check me out, Tef Williams on Instagram. I almost never post anything there, but I'm pretty sure Mari's on there. She was adorable. She was a sweetie. Let's see. There was one morning where this is when I was fostering kittens. I had a litter of 4 kittens, and I forget if I still had that mama or not. I fostered 2 mamas with kittens, and one, and that particular mama went back a week or 2 before the kittens were ready to be, to go back. But anyway, I woke up one morning and I had like 1 kitten on my chest, I had 1 kitten on either side of me, and I had 1 kitten like in between my legs. And I'm like, how do I get up? This is so adorable. And then another time, I think it was a different litter, I took a nap, and one of the kittens was like laying on my chest kind of under the covers, and I woke up 2 hours later, and they were still there under the covers. Okay, Pete is getting very bitey, so he has to go. He's like, okay, I've reached my holding time limit for today. Manito's saying save the monthly planner stuff from Monday, so I think that is what I'm going to do. I hope you enjoyed the kittens, with or without the biting. Let's just hold them up one more time if I can manage it so you can see their cuteness. Oh, come on. Oh, you're like, nope, 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 nope. Okay. But yeah, I am going to let you guys go. I know this was quite a long live, kind of the end of my longer lives, but I appreciate everybody who was here, and especially everybody who contributed to the conversation about how, you know, planner expectations can get a little bit unhealthy online. If you are watching the replay, first off, thank you so much. I am trying to get my watch time up, so I appreciate you, since only replay views count towards watch time. But please let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, and so we can have a conversation going beyond the live stream itself. I will be back on Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific. I stream Mondays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, and then I will probably do another live stream next week is my guess based on timing because of the academic planner, based on when the embargo lifts and when I'll probably be getting it. So keep an eye on my community tab for that specific announcement. I'm guessing, let's see, I don't know when I'm going to get the box. The embargo lifts on the 7th, though, which is a Tuesday next week. So assuming I have the planner by then, there will tentatively be a 4 p.m. live on Tuesday next week. I'm not promising anything. As I said, it really depends on whether I have it or not. But keep an eye out on my community tab. That's where I announce any changes in schedules and plans and all that sort of stuff. And thank you again for being here, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!